Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing good. My today's example will be about how to graph a sinusoidal function which has this general form as you can see here. The first thing that I'm going to do is do the phase shift which will translate my function left and right. Then I'm going to find the amplitude and then the vertical translation. I will apply them one by one. First, I'm going to have to find them, of course. For this example, which you can see here, I will have to find A, B, C, and D corresponding with the general form. A equals 2, B equals 1 over 2, C equals pi over 3, and D equals -4. Now, the phase shift equals negative C over the absolute value of B. It should be saved, and you will have to recall it in your exam or when you want to solve it, which equals now. All you have to do is substitute the values that you have, and you will find that the phase shift is -2 pi over 3. Now, moving to the amplitude. Now, the amplitude, which will refer to A, which equals 2, just a quick recall that will vertically expand my function. Now, the vertical translation, which refers to D equals -4. Now, also, I'm going to find the period of the function because I'm going to use it later to find other points. We will talk about it later. Now, after finding those 3 points, or 3 main things to do before you do a translation, I'm going to follow them or apply them one by one using a point from the original function, which is y equals cosine x, without any translations. I use the first maximum point I see, which is at x equals 0, and it also, of course, it's 1. All right. Also recall that the period of this function is 2 pi. Okay, now after choosing this point, I'm going to apply the phase shift, which will translate my function to the left with 2 pi over 3. Of course, I'm going to apply it only to the x because it's a horizontal translation. Then, after applying that, I'm going to apply the second step, which is the amplitude, which is will multiply the y coordinate that I have by A, which is 2. Now, final thing is to do the vertical shift. Of course, it's a vertical shift, so I'm going to move it up, my function up or down, and this will affect the y coordinate. So it was -4, as you can see here. So I'm going to do 2 -4, and we'll have my final point after all of those transformations, which is -2 pi over 3, comma -2. Now, before finding other points and before knowing the graphs, I'm going to recall or review a very important thing with you, which is the important points of the cosine function with their order, guys, okay, with their order. Now, it is a maximum x-intercept, minimum x-intercept, then a maximum. I will show them to you using this graph. I started my function from 1, which is a maximum, then an x-intercept, minimum, then an x-intercept, then a maximum again at 2 pi, which finishes my period. Okay. Then I'm going to write them here: 0 pi over 2 pi, 2 pi over 3, and finally 2 pi. Okay, moving on between those points with their order, I'm moving with a value of period over 4. Now, I did recall that the period of this function is 2 pi, so I'm moving pi over 2. I'm going to use this formula to move between points on the translated function, which has this equation. But as you can see here, I have been transformed 4 units down, so I'm not going to have any x-intercepts. So I'm going to skip the x-intercepts. I will show you how. Okay, so you can read it, guys. I will leave you I will give you some time to read it. Now I have a maximum. Sorry, I have a maximum, then I'm gonna skip the x-intercept, go to the minimum, skip the x-intercept, and go to the maximum again. But I'm not gonna skip adding this value, which is the period over 4 for my function. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move from maximum, adding period over 4. Now I'm here. I didn't go to the maximum yet, to the minimum yet. I'm going to add another period over 4 to reach the minimum. Okay. The period over 4, I did find the period in the beginning of the video, which was 4 pi. I did divide it by 4, then it's a pi. All right. So my points are, or my important points will be at the maximum will be at negative 3 pi over 2. Skipping this tough score, so I'm going to add 2 pi. So my minimum will be at 4 pi over 3. Now, my point was, as you've read here, my point was at a maximum, which has a value of negative 2. So to find the minimum, what I'm going to do is y equals, all right, for the minimum point, I already found it that's at 4x over 3, and it has a y coordinate. The y coordinate equals maximum value that the function has reached minus 2 multiplied by the amplitude a, which will give me negative 6. Okay, I'm going to apply those 2 critical points or 2 important points to my graph. All right, this is the function I've chosen. It moved to here, so it stayed a maximum. It's a maximum, then it will stay a maximum. Then I will follow the general shape of the cosine function. It would go down to its minimum, which was at 4 pi over 3, and it was at negative 6. And using those points and using only this side, because of course it's gonna go back again to its maximum, which is at 10 pi over 3. Using 2 points, you will be able to figure out which graph you have if you have a multiple choice question, or you will be able to graph it if you have a step-by-step question. I'm going to go back to the question itself, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.